Whether you're seeking inspiration, wisdom, or a fresh perspective on leadership and entrepreneurship, the Building Interest podcast has you covered. Together, we explore the successes of groundbreaking leaders, the triumphs, the challenges, and the invaluable lessons they learned along the way. Our discussions go beyond strategic decision-making and delve into the personal hobbies and passions that keep these leaders inspired and grounded in their work. I'm your host, Greg Farber. Let's jump right in. Today, we're joined by Dorothy Zahir, Senior Vice President, Head of Retail and Elevate Banking, a fearless leader in the banking space, and a passionate advocate for women in leadership. Welcome, Dorothy.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited. So, we know you have a lot of banking experience, which we'll get to. But first, let's just go back a little bit. And you had experience in some other fields, perhaps even schooling, before you found banking as your calling. Can you tell us a little bit about your earlier background?
Yes. I started out as a paralegal here in Boston, and I worked for a number of different law firms here. And I did employment law and personal injury.
So not even real estate at the time?
Not even real estate, nope. That would have been nice to carry that over. And then, you know, at being a paralegal, I've always had this drive. I always wanted to do more in life. And back then, I didn't have my degrees. So I had to go back to school in order to grow. I found a lot of blocks along the way without the degree. So I decided to leave the paralegal world, the law firms, and go to the university so I can get my degree. So I had 3 small children, and I started working at Suffolk University so they'd be able to pay for my tuition. And I did that, and I graduated in 3 years. I worked for the president of the university, so that was a great place to be. I always was in the right place at the right time. And once I graduated, he recognized something in me, and he made me the director of international alumni. So I was able to travel all over the world. And it was just an amazing experience. I did that for about 15 years. I finished my MBA in 2008, and that's when I knew I was getting to a certain age. Don't ask me, Greg. But I was getting to a certain age, and I said either I go corporate or I stay in higher ed for the rest of my career. And I like to do new things all the time. So I decided to go into banking and as a client manager, and believe it or not, all that skills that I learned along the way rolled right up into banking.
Well, I was going to ask that, like, what's it like switching from a completely different industry? Obviously, first you're in legal, then you're in the higher education area, never mind the schooling part, but the 15 years you worked there, and then just upending all that and going into banking, but you just said that they tied together somehow.
Yes, well, it's
like
all about
threads?
No, the common thread would be relationships. It's all about relationships. And working as a paralegal, you have to know the client, you have to talk to them, you have to really get to know everything. As a director of international alumni, I had a lot of international students. It's about relationships with their families for fundraising. So you develop these relationships, you build them, you build the trust, and I found in banking, it's the same thing.
So maybe the technical process you had to build from scratch and learn the industry from scratch, but you came armed with a comfort, a feeling that you already knew, like, the people that you needed to have around you and things like that to make it work.
Yes, correct.
What would you say was some of the biggest learning that you took away from those other experiences? Maybe let's talk about the international higher education. Like, what do you learn doing that shaped your outlook, you know, going forward? And don't say relationships.
No, it's not about relationships. It's more about, you know, I'm dealing with multiple cultures right now, right? When I was international alumni director, all over the world. We have from South America to Asia to Europe to you name it. It was everywhere I was able to travel. And you have to really learn to respect others' cultures. And I even ended up, you know, I don't know, marrying someone from Bangladesh. That's a whole completely different culture. That was for a good number of years. And I had in-laws living with me, totally different. I come back. I'm from Massachusetts. Blue-collar family. There was no culture except for blue-collar, and I had to learn and be accepting.
So I really echo that sentiment. You look at me and you kind of see like just boring guy too, right? I'm actually an immigrant. Don't know if you knew that. And I don't have a business degree or anything like that. I have an anthropology degree. And I credit that with a lot of the same kind of thing that you just mentioned, where you really are learning about cultures and people and how just people interact. Not like psychology, right? You're not digging into their brains, but you're digging into that sort of that larger picture of how people interact. And I found that to be so helpful in making relationships and connecting with folks, like you said, of different cultures. So that really resonates with me when you say that.
I did hear your story before, and I found it really fascinating because you do not look like someone who came from a different country where I'm used to seeing people that look different.
I just came from a country where people look the same as us.
Right, but completely different.
Culturally, yes.
Completely
Absolutely.
different, and that's what I learned. Culture is everywhere. You have to be just accepting of it.
Absolutely. So now we're here in 2024, and you've now been in banking for quite a while, and you have a whole new role and a whole new perspective. You're overseeing a lot of growth and initiatives and things here at Leader. Is there a particular or maybe a significant professional challenge that you can share with us that you faced in forging this new role that you have, and how you would overcome that?
There really were. How do you say there really was? I didn't feel like there was any challenges. I'm the type of personality, I just jump.
Okay.
You know? And
well, let's explore that then for a second. How do you know when and where to jump?
You got to take risks in life. If you don't take the risk, like if I didn't take the risk from leaving the law and to go to the university, I mean, that pay cut was huge. We're talking $30,000 back in 1990. That was a lot of money. But I found that you have to go backwards to go forwards. And that's what I did. I take that now, even banking now. It's like, do I stay in higher ed or do I go into banking? And I had a great job. I got to travel. I got to work with many, many really intelligent individuals. But I took the risk because I wanted to learn something new.
So maybe the challenge was more personal and not professional.
Yeah, I think so. I like new things. I get bored.
Well, I've heard you described as both fearless and fearful, which are seemingly opposites, right? But you seem to be able to blend them. And you just described a little bit that it is tough to jump from one thing to another, but yet you've done it. Clearly there's that fearless side to it. How do you balance your decision making when you might be afraid of doing something and at the same time you're fearless and you just jump right in?
Well, I just jump right in, and that's when the fear comes afterwards, because you're like looking
it's after
back.
the fact.
Yes, it's after.
So you don't stand there and worry about jumping in. You just jump, close your eyes.
I jump and close.
And then just run with it.
Absolutely. And then when I'm doing it, going, okay, what am I doing? What do I need? I need to get, and fear comes in, but once that comes in, you just have to lay the groundwork on what you need. You have to have a plan, a vision, and then you have to really put it in action.
So we joked before about leadership, right? If you ran out, we would have to follow you because you're the leader. And we said we'd talk about leadership in the episode. And I think this is a great moment to sort of segue into that, because leadership can come in a lot of different forms. A lot of people might think of kind of the star quarterback as the leader, right? But it's a team game, and there's so many other ways to be a leader when you're in a team environment like we have here at Leader Bank. So you might have people that lead more quietly, or some that are more outspoken, or that lead more by example or mentoring versus how they compose themselves, or different things like that. Are you more of the now I've jumped and I'm going to grab this kind of leader, or are you more the sort of organic from within mentor type leader?
I think organic mentor basically is what I like. I have, everyone has some form of emotional intelligence. I have a lot of humility, so I'm going to say that right now, but I have a lot of emotional intelligence. I can see a person and understand them, and what I like to do is meet them where they are and bring them up to where they want to be.
How does that process work? So you see them. How do you know what would work to bring them up?
First of all, you have to talk to them. You have to get to know them, and you have to be a good listener. And once you understand that, sometimes they don't know what they want most times. I mean, who really does, right?
Right.
So you have to talk to them. You have to get them to share more about their background, their culture. I mean, and then figure out, okay, where do you really want to go? Do you want to grow?
I think you definitely hit on something with they don't know where to go, right? Because if you are in front of an obstacle, a closed door or something, and you don't know that you can open the door.
Correct.
You don't know how to go forward, right? And someone has to kind of show you that. That's where you see yourself sort of fitting
Yes,
in?
I do show them. And what I do is I show them the struggles that I had, because I had a lot of struggles through my life. So I talk to them. So in order for someone to share with me, I got to share myself first and show them that I made so many mistakes in my life, right? I mean, who hasn't?
Absolutely.
And I made so many, but I learned from every single one of them, and I would not trade any of those mistakes.
Right. Yeah, it's
because it makes
a growth
who I am.
experience, and it changes how you go about things the next time.
Mm-hmm. It's who I am. It's, all those things roll up into who I am.
Another way you've described yourself is finding calmness in chaos. And so I kind of want to go with that in this sense here. You have the chaos of jumping in, like you said, fearless. But then your fearfulness isn't preventing, you're not paralyzed by your fear once you've jumped in. You sort of find this calm within the chaos. How do you do that?
I think that took practice. That really took a lot of practice, meaning...
So it's intentional.
It is intentional. I never thought of it that way, but it's definitely intentional.
It's not just natural Dorothy. You jumped in and now you're just going to be calm. You trained yourself to...
I grew up in a household that was very chaotic. There was no routine. And what happens when you have the chaos, if you get more excited and anxious, the worse the chaos gets. And I recognized that right away in my younger years to stay... If I stay calm, I can find... Simple little thing, finding your car keys. When you can't find your car keys or your phone, today's phone, right?
It's easy to panic, right?
Right? You panic. But if you just take a deep breath, let me remember, let me look back, let me retrace my steps. I know it's a simple little analogy, but it's true. I mean, I watch people that spiral out of control.
Is there a way to practice that?
Breathing. I am a big believer in breathing deeply.
Because, car keys, phone, eventually you can find them or replace them or something, but you might encounter a crisis at the office one day.
Yes.
And you can't be the leader that's running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
No, you have to show them that it's okay. We're in a turmoil right now, but we're okay. We don't have to act that way. We have to figure out the best solution. Even today, right? Today I sit here and just before I'm coming on here with you, I was very nervous, who isn't? And I just had to breathe, and you can see all the difference.
Well, hopefully this is more calm than chaos for you.
Oh, yes. I don't know why I was nervous with you, Greg.
So maybe, all right, maybe that's my secret sauce. I was going to ask you about your secret sauce. Maybe this calmness and that approach is your secret sauce, and that's what kind of differentiates you, again, from the leaders that are perhaps more animated or outspoken or things like that you are kind of you provide the calm and you give everyone an opportunity to just step back and figure it out, and you're showing that to your team. Is that your secret sauce?
Somewhat. I think there's a lot of ingredients into the secret sauce. It's not just one.
Can we know more than one?
Yes.
You don't have to give us all of them.
No, I don't want to give all of it, but
completely secret.
That's true. Transparency.
Okay.
You have to be transparent with your team. You have to really tell them what's going on. Otherwise, they're not going to want to follow you.
Right. They have to trust that
you
know what's going on, especially if you're being calm, because they might think you don't get it and there's a big crisis going on. And why isn't she more upset?
Well, I would think my team would say that I'm not calm. So I don't want to put words in their mouths. I really think that they would think that I'm not that calm. But what it is it's internally I'm calm, and that makes the difference.
Right, and allows you to keep a level head and really focus on
and
the
see both
decision-making.
sides of everything.
So moving to a completely different topic now, we want to touch on this a little bit. We know that you're an advocate and a voice for women in leadership and women all around, and a quite powerful one at that. I've seen some of your work here at the bank and just the cultural impact it's had on our organization and some of the teams and how folks interact. Tell us a little bit about what that cause means to you and I mean, I don't want to ask why it's important because it should be obvious why it's important, but I want to hear from you.
You know, it's not just women that I really want. It's women and allies. So it's anyone who really wants to move up. So why is it close to me? Because it took me a long time to get here. It took me a lot of different roads, you know, paths going this way, that way, up and down. And I think if I had a little bit more guidance, I might have got here a little bit more or made it a little bit easier. And I think that if I could share my experience with women and men, I think that they would know that, one, I'm human, they're human, and we can work together and we can find a way.
There's a lot in there. I have like 6 different questions, and now I've lost 5 of them. But I love that you mentioned allies, for example, too, because it has to be a joint effort.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be one side fighting for more standing in the community and opposed by the other side. Everyone has to join together, right?
Yes.
So I love that you mentioned allies. And you mentioned kind of, I don't know if the word you used was educating, but basically just sharing with folks how to do it. Do you have any advice on what some of those lessons are on how we can all be better in promoting women in the workplace and professionally? Like, what can men do that men aren't doing? Right?
All right. So this is one thing I wanted to touch upon here, too. So it kind of goes with the women and allies and what I believe, but also what I find I think is going to bring the women and allies a little bit even deeper and better would be, it's not just about mentoring, it's about sponsoring individuals, really taking people under your wing and promoting them. And I don't mean by promotion, I mean by really working with them, building them to a point where they can take on special projects or other projects, where they can meet your network. You know, I have a great wide of individuals that I know that you can introduce them to, bring them along and show them. So it's more about sponsoring someone more than it is just talking to someone. It's really putting my reputation on the line for that person because I believe in that person.
Mentoring, not just in you sharing your knowledge and your actions, but in encouraging their own knowledge and their actions.
And sharing my, whatever I have to open up doors for them.
When you picture that moving into the future, what's your vision? How does this move? What do you see?
What do I see for the program that I see that each leader at Leader Bank will pick someone in there, we have their right-hand person, whoever it may be, and really sponsor them. Make sure that other leaders will know what their person is doing. I think that's really important to praise them, to make sure that, so I kind of getting out of the way, but what I really want to say is basically, I would love to have everyone at Leader Bank pick someone, sponsor them, and then you're building a legacy here. You're building the succession plan that you really need here. I'm not going to be here forever, and neither is, and you need to do that. It's nurturing them.
It's not just you at the top leading, which I know you hate that term, or that you don't want to be known as sort of the leader at the top, but I'm seeing this organic sort of tree style thing where everybody branches out and it might all come from a common root, perhaps.
Yes.
But it's growing in its own direction and people are taking their branches in their own different directions. And I'm doing a lot of random hand gesturing here, but am I getting that kind of right?
Yes, I do believe that would be a good way. And the way you described it with your hands going which way, it's because we're all individuals too, so they're going to change it. They're going to tweak it. It's all going to be different.
And you have to be okay with that.
And you have to be okay with that. I call it sort of like when I'm helping individuals, you're planting seeds. And people do, some individuals that I had been friends with for a long time, they get upset when those seeds don't take as fast as they want them. I have planted seeds all along my career with individuals. I don't even know how it changed them, but it has changed them. Just like other people have planted seeds in me, and it has changed me. It's just the way it works.
You've reminded me of, and this is completely unrelated to work because it's about children, but there's a book called The Prophet by Khalil Gibran.
Oh my God, it's my favorite book.
Oh, you like that?
Oh my God, it's my favorite
And there's
book.
there's the portion in there about children.
Oh my God,
And
they don't come from you, they come through you.
Right. And the thing that stuck with me was that you send them forth as arrows, like this idea that you can pull back and you can point them in the right direction. But once you've let go, they are on their own and they have to find their own path, but you guided them to it.
Yes.
And it sounds like you're applying a lot of that same sort of philosophy to this corporate mentoring.
Right. I love that book.
See, told you didn't have to be all stressed out. This is great. So then I think a theme that we're kind of coming on here then is that business leadership is a strength that isn't about being business dependent, it's person dependent.
Yeah.
And it's the person and within that puts forth that strength regardless of the industry that you're in. If you had stayed in law or if you had stayed in higher education, I bet you would be just as much an advocate and mentoring and leading folks as you are here at the bank today.
I agree.
So let's take that completely out of the office then. When you aren't working, what do you do for fun and how do you spend your personal time? Are you as much of a mentor and a leader in your personal time, or
well, I have a lot of children.
I need to disconnect and go do something completely different?
No, I have family. I have children. I have grandchildren. I have, so I like to spend time with them. I love to golf. I do that as much as I possibly can. I love to, believe it or not, play darts. I love card games, like any games at all. I play tons of games. I love games. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So would you say you ever had an experience in those activities where the lessons you learned there, just out and about having fun, end up allowing you to better strategize or find a solution or bring someone along at the workplace?
I think yes. And I think how I do it is just by, again, connecting with individuals. When you're playing games with them, you're talking to them. I didn't start golf until 2012.
Okay.
And that's when my career kind of took off, believe it or not. So here I am playing, but I met with many, many women who golfed in the financial world, and we were able to refer business back and forth. And to this day, I still do it.
So you can enjoy something and still take business lessons out of it.
Yes, you can take, so for the business side. But on the mentoring side, you talk to people, you just share with them, and they share with you. And, you take some of that information from them, and you grow from it, and they do the same.
So now we're going to switch. We're going to go to a new segment.
Mm-hmm.
This is a segment we call, What Would You Choose? And I'm going to ask you a couple of rapid fire either or questions.
Wow.
You're going to pick one, and there's no right or wrong answer. Now, you might want to tell us why you picked what you picked. You might not. But it's usually going to be very interesting because now everyone's had a chance to kind of listen and get to know you, right? And we hopefully now understand a little bit of what makes Dorothy tick. Now, stability or flexibility?
Flexibility.
You want to expand on that at all?
Well, some people see black, some people say white. I see gray. You got to be flexible on everything. It's like you got to...
Can't jump off the deep end fearlessly.
Yes.
And then not be flexible to deal with wherever you landed.
You have to be flexible. And I think that keeps you learning all the time by being flexible. Because if you're so set and stable doing the same thing the same way all the time, where's the growth?
So now you could be flexible in this next one in either of the choices.
Mm-hmm.
Launch something new or optimize the current?
Optimize the current.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
More of a tinkering?
No, actually, no. I'm wrong. Nope, go back. What was it again?
Launch something new.
Yeah, I'm always
or
new.
Or optimize the current?
No. I don't know why I said the latter. It is definitely always new. I got to do something new all the time.
Now, this next one, it's going to be, I mean, there's kind of an obvious answer, but I want you to think for a second. Because you matter also, right? What would you rather? Inspire others or be inspired?
Inspire others.
I thought you'd say that. But I wanted to kind of give you a pause there for a second.
I would love to be. I love to be inspired too.
Right, you have to.
I love to be yes.
And one of my favorite things about the podcast is I always leave super inspired because of the amazing people that I sit with, and feeling that inspiration from someone else is so cool.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But I also kind of knew that you were going to say inspiring others is your jam.
I like both.
Yeah.
I really do. If I can pick
That wasn't
both.
a choice. Because you can pick both. Last one for me. Passion or purpose?
Passion.
With a purpose or just
With the
passion
purpose.
and it doesn't matter what
You know,
the purpose is?
okay. Just passion.
Just passion?
And I'll tell you, I purpose is really important to me. But passion, I get sometimes like a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, this is the best cup of coffee ever. I get really passionate about
Those little moments.
little things I get really passionate about.
I love that. Because you have to enjoy stuff along
Everything. You have to enjoy everything. It's if I find something, that I thought I lost, I'm like, oh my God, I found it.
the way. There you go. Purpose can come later.
Yep.
All right.
The purpose will come.
Purpose is important. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the other new segment that we have this year is called Bringing Inspiration. And this is where we asked you when we talked before the episode to do a little homework, dig back into the mind of Dorothy, and share with us something that inspires you. And it can be whatever. It can be a story. It can be a physical object, anything. What would you like to share with our listeners that really brings you inspiration?
There's a lot of things that bring me inspiration. It's not just one thing, right?
Okay.
My mother always inspired me. She was my strength. She was my rock. As you mentioned just a few minutes ago, others inspire me every single day. It's not just one thing. Like I'll leave here, I'm pretty high off this. I'm inspired. I'll be more creative. I'll be more, it just makes me want to do more.
I think that's the best non-answer we've had to this question. It's fantastic because, yes, exactly that. Just recognizing that there's inspiration all around us,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is in itself a pretty powerful statement.
You can feel it.
So that's all the questions I had for today. I don't know if you have any parting thoughts or any wisdom you want to share with our listeners or anything else you'd like to.
No, I think you made it really easy.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming. I absolutely, like I said, I enjoy these. I love the kind of back and forth. I love learning about other folks and what inspires. And just so many different ways that we can be a leader in the sense that we are impacting others in some positive way.
I agree.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe and rate our show. The Building Interest podcast is live on all podcast platforms, YouTube and TikTok. We want to hear what you think of each episode and encourage you to submit any questions that you want us to cover, so please find us on our YouTube or TikTok and comment your thoughts. All opinions expressed by Dorothy Zahir are her own and not the opinions of Leader Bank NA. For more information on today's subject, visit leaderbank.com. In addition to past episodes, you can also find our Learning Center blog for more insights. This podcast is a production of Leader Bank, an equal housing lender, member FDIC, NMLS 449250.